The purpose of your portfolio. So your portfolio obviously is very important, and it needs to be perfect because it's your main vehicle for communication. So your portfolio might include a variety of different things. Obviously, it's going to include your examples of your work. And we'll talk later on the appropriate number of pieces that you should be putting into that portfolio. We're going to be making a website. So you will have that URL address for your portfolio. Your portfolio will probably include some sort of resume. It'll include some sort of introduction or cover letter per se for yourself. Information on how to contact you, things that you would think of seeing on a business card would be in your portfolio. And then you might also design some sort of leave behind when you do interview. And we'll talk about that again later on. All part of that whole branding that you will be doing. So the portfolio really conveys your unique style or voice. And that's what we have to discover here in the next couple of weeks. We have to discover what your voice is. Because this is a major piece of communication, it has to be well designed. It has to be perfect. And you are more likely to succeed if we first set the goals, your goals for this portfolio. Who is the target audience? We need to understand who you're designing for and the purpose for this portfolio. We also will get into networking because that's such an important piece. So we need to get your portfolio out there. You need to network. One of the things we will be doing is building a LinkedIn account. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, we'll be stepping through that. We also need to keep up with professional literature, reading professional blogs. Social media is fabulous for this, and we'll get into that as the semester rolls through. So knowing that this portfolio is probably the most important thing that you will be doing here at your career as a student, we need to take this very seriously, and you need to spend a lot of time and effort on this. Now, there are different types of portfolios for different job or careers. And this is something that in this week, I'm hoping you really start to nail down. You start to figure out exactly what it is that you want to do. So each specific area in design really has unique criteria and has unique expectations when it comes to portfolios. You need to target your portfolio. So you have to make some choices for your intended career path. If we start with graphic design, this is a very common career path, and this is really open to a lot of different areas. There's a wide range of opportunities that fall within graphic design. So in a graphic design world, you would be doing planning and producing of graphic material for both web and print and now mobile devices. So anything from annual reports, information design, logos, design of interfaces for websites. I mean, there's just a ton of things here. So a graphic design portfolio, absolute, at the minimum, has to demonstrate typography. You have to show strong typography skills. You have to show strong layout skills. You need to show that you have original concept development, that you have this finely tuned sense of craft and execution. So people looking at a graphic design portfolio are looking for creative solutions. They're looking for evidence of originality. They're looking at how you can take your design and adapt it or apply it to different media. So things like a logo could be applied on a letterhead. It could be applied on signage. It could be applied in an annual report. It could be applied on a website. It could be applied on, some other promotional materials. So you get the idea. So graphic design really has to have fine details, a demonstration of the ability to work and appreciate fine details. Advertising, some of you are working a bit with marketing and might be doing the marketing and design approach. So that kind of falls into advertising. Advertising agencies work with clients, of course, to position and promote products and services through a huge spectrum of always changing, ever evolving media. So creative directors might fall into this world of advertising where they have a background in design. They're doing some marketing. They're coordinating the work of teams, working with project managers and producers, account execs, art directors, copywriters, and the list goes on and on. So portfolios geared in this world should show some sort of a campaign, a multi-part campaign that features a cycle of promotions across a range of media. Being able to demonstrate that you connect to a target market and really on an emotional level as well as an intellectual level. Successfully describing or showing a market strategy, how you addressed it in your designs. So strong point should be that you can come up with ideas. You can come up with lots of ideas, and you want to somehow show that. It's okay, and this is okay in graphic design portfolios as well. It's okay to show some of those sketches, the concept designs, demonstrating any fine art skills. Wonderful to do. And so, it's good to show the whole process that you took, how you can communicate an idea, and how you went through that process. Illustrators. So an illustration portfolio is kind of similar to graphic design. Illustrators and photographers actually work mainly freelance. And so you have to get your name out there somehow, and your portfolio will be doing that. So you really want to show your skills in the specific area illustration that you are targeting. And that's something you have to figure out, whether it be in the architectural rendering world, to character imaging, whatever it is. Most illustrators do gain exposure for their work through printed or online sources. It's a great idea to blog. It's a great idea to share illustrations on Twitter and Facebook. So illustration portfolios really showcase in a different way, a number of different ways. A lot of times illustration portfolios show speculative work, and this would be work that's self-assigned, those self-assigned projects. If you can get any pieces published, that is absolutely fabulous. So you're trying to strive for recognition. You're trying to be found. And so that's something, like I mentioned, active blogging with social media. You have to have an online presence, and you have to have a strong online presence for illustration. Interactive media or a multimedia. So these are the people that not only do design, but they get into the interactive world. They might, someone going into the gaming world or really focusing on mobile apps, the whole mobile world. So you would be potentially a designer and or a developer and or a project manager. And so there's a variety of things that can fall into this, from designing, as we talked about with the graphic design, developing, that would be like our coders, people that are doing some of the behind the scenes, and then managers, people that are managing the projects. So more specifically, if we look at what types of areas, like usability, UI design, huge right now, very big. So people, again, in this field do most of their communication online. So again, you have to have a really well-designed portfolio that demonstrates your skill. Remember, your portfolio is a lot of times your first impression. So what kind of first impression are you leaving? If you're a developer or programmer, some of you are falling into that world, then you need to provide links in that portfolio to interactive sites or websites that you have built that demonstrate, number one, you're up to the current standards and strategies. You know what's going on. You know the current trends. And understanding the context of interactive programming. Many times interactive media or multimedia portfolios include some type of audio or video examples as well. Before we end our discussion here on the different types of portfolios, a couple of key points to keep in mind, and I pulled off some of the quotes from your required textbook. This is from Carissa Williams, who is a game designer, and she states it's important to target that discipline that interests you most. Like I mentioned, this is what we're figuring out this week. What is that specific target area that you want to go into? What are your career goals? Targeting pays off in the end because you end up doing what you are passionate about and thus doing it well. So through a professionalized, some of the voices in the design field are looking at specific things when they're hiring. What do they like to see? What do they not like to see in portfolios? Well, they like to see good craft skills. Like I said, that attention to detail, which is actually number 3 in the list, those really go hand in hand. You have to really look at those details and do things perfect. That you can work with type. You have excellent typography skills. That you can show your work in a nice presentation form that's brief. You're not going on and on and on. We don't need to have 100 pieces in this portfolio. We also want to show some of those soft skills, that you would be a productive employee, that you would be a good colleague, that you have a positive attitude, that you have a sense of humor, you have a passion for the work, and you understand what motivates people. So that is a really big chunk of a new hire. It's not just always the technical skills that you have, it's going to be some of those soft skills. We also want to somehow show original thought. And this might be done with taking one of the projects in your portfolio and showing the complete process from the initial concepts to the production stage, to the testing stage, to the final stage. So having one project that you maybe have some of those pencil sketches so they can see your process and how you work through that. So kind of a narrative describing or demonstrating the thought process behind a project. YouTube is a fabulous tool for inserting for something of this sort in your portfolio. Some will choose to do a demo reel. A lot of times when you hear demo reel, you think video. But demo reels can be done for designers as well. It's really just a short display of work. And we're talking short, like 1 to 3 minutes. The shorter, actually, the better. It would include your work samples, animation, any video, other multimedias, graphic design, web design, personal projects, studio art. Also really good to show in your portfolio, to show some of that talent that you have. And of course, at the end, you direct reviewers to your actual portfolio website. Another thing to think about is an artist statement to summarize your abilities and summarize your creative direction. That artist statement is a lot of times a great piece to put on your home or your landing page. This is a quote from a designer, Justin Ahrens, who works out of a firm in the Chicago area. And he explains what qualities he finds promising in the portfolio of a student he hired. And you can see how it's really about the details. The student's portfolio was notable for several reasons: great concepts, excellent use of type, for example, correct size, placement, and finesse, the kerning and leading, etc., and the correct font, one that goes with the concept and falls of the piece. It either adds to it or it stays out of the way. Also great imagery, cropped well, overall composition is clean, with the great use of space that flows well. So there's an example of what that specific individual is looking at in a new hire's portfolio. Another example of a creative partner in an advertising firm down in Austin, Texas, and a lot of the design, looking at that it's original. A lot of times students tend to mimic or copy or imitate, and their work is unoriginal. And so we want to have some new, fresh concepts there. Know what they are doing and why they are doing it. Show me the work process. The most important thing for me to understand about you is how you think. Remember, that's a great thing, just to take one of your pieces in your portfolio, show that complete process. Show great original work that has a story, demonstrating market and business sense by marketing yourself via some sort of pre-mailer, leave behind. Present diversity in work style and provide evidence of a strong work ethic and a positive attitude. That goes a long way. One more quote here, and this is from an individual who's a creative director, again, in the Chicago area. I'm looking for someone who is literate, who pays attention to detail, who has a really positive attitude. I like well-crafted typography. This has to do with attention to detail. So I think you can start seeing there's a repetition here of ideas and thoughts. I look critically at the letter the applicants write. I have to tell you a story. I was on a interviewing committee, and the job description was pretty straightforward, pretty clear. When we went through the applicants, there was an application with a cover letter that completely addressed a career not even related to the job posting. What do you think of that applicant? If they totally missed that mark, they weren't paying attention to the detail, they were using a cover letter that was for, it was for something in food service, and this was something in design, and like, how are those related? So you need to make sure you're paying attention to all of those details. You need to really critically look at every single piece that you're putting out there when you are out applying for jobs. Some ending thoughts here. Remember that your portfolio is an ongoing process and it will continue to develop even after graduation. You need to think about what job you want. What are your career goals? And you need to present yourself for that job that you want. Again, it's important to target that discipline that interests you.